Dillian the Body Snatcher White here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
Right, there's an article here, and I'll put it in the description box, as always, for you guys to go have a read, and it's got quite a lengthy statement from Eddie Hearn when he's talking about Dillian Whyte potentially signing up with ESPN. And while he didn't confirm or deny that that is going to be happening, he did say that as far as he's concerned, he did ask Dillian Whyte, is this happening? And Dillian said, no, not really. But that is pretty much a case of Dillian Whyte is maybe still mulling it over. He's still not sure what it is that he wants to do. Or it's a case of Eddie Hearn knows, but he can't say anything through, I don't know, legally binding kind of things, I suppose, because he does still represent Dillian Whyte. And that's the important bit of this video here, because I know that a lot of people have been jumping the gun when I made the announcement, for the rumours at least, that Dillian Whyte was meant to be signing a multi-fight deal with ESPN. Okay, and a lot of people say, well, he's going to leave Eddie Hearn and da-da-da. And I did say, while we don't know, don't jump the gun. Okay, because Dillian Whyte has always said that he has a good relationship with Eddie Hearn Sky. Okay, because these guys do put him on pay-per-view. And he does have loyalty to them, of course. So when he's talking about ESPN, he's talking about USA. He's talking about the American market only, not the UK market. So, and Eddie Hearn pretty much confirmed that as well, where he says that as far as he's aware, him and Dillian Whyte will continue to work together as they always have done. It's just that Dillian Whyte, obviously he was speaking with DAZN, he was speaking with Showtime, he was speaking with ESPN. And by the looks of it, ESPN have offered him the best deal. So it just means that those in America will watch Dillian Whyte fights via ESPN. But us here in the UK, we still watch them on Sky Sports. Again, maybe Dillian Whyte may fight in America as well, or maybe not. Maybe O2 is still going to be his home. Okay, so for those in the UK, nothing really changes for us, really. But Eddie Hearn is giving the impression that if he does sign with ESPN, he's going to be disappointed. Why? Because Eddie Hearn Matchroom is part of DAZN for America, okay? But you see, there's certain things that I know, and I don't know what it is that I can say and what I can't say. Because when it comes to DAZN, I know that, how do I say it? I get the impression, at least, I'm going to say that, right? I get the impression that Dillian Whyte feels a little undervalued by DAZN. Like DAZN, you see, they're willing to invest money in Daniel Jacobs, in Anthony Joshua, in Demetrius Andrade, in Jaron Miller, in Maurice Hooker, Tevin Farmer, Rungvisai, Usyk, etc., etc. But when it comes to Dillian Whyte, they're not. And I'll give you one part of that, okay? Derek Chisora rematch on December 22nd. When the fight was first announced, if you guys look at the poster in the background there, just go back and have a look at it, you'll see DAZN was on the poster. But those in America didn't get to watch it on DAZN. They got to watch it on Showtime. Because DAZN were not paying out the money. Don't listen to what Eddie Hearn said about certain things around it. But trust me, it was DAZN that were messing about. Dillian Whyte said, listen, okay, if you're not going to value me at all, I've got Showtime who's offering more money. That's where I'm going to go. Okay, because Dillian has no contract with DAZN. Much like Anthony Joshua, again, for those who may be criticising Dillian Whyte for potentially joining up with ESPN, Anthony Joshua is also not signed with DAZN. Anthony Joshua decides on a fight-by-fight basis where his fight is going to be aired in America. So this fight against Miller is going to be on DAZN. His last fight against Povetkin was on DAZN. But his next fight, whoever it may be against, might be on ESPN. It might be on Showtime. You see? So he's not tied into a long-term contract with DAZN either. So Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua, their obligations with DAZN is almost the same. I mean, there is a slight difference with Anthony Joshua because he has accepted some kind of deal from DAZN where they have first refusal and last refusal on his fights. Okay, so in other words, they're always going to have to pay more money. In a sense, well, they don't have to. So, for example, if they offer Joshua, say, we're going to give you $5 million to show your next fight, he could say to ESPN, Showtime, okay, so DAZN's offering me $5 million, how much are you going to offer? Well, we're going to pay you 10. He'll go back to DAZN, well, they're going to pay me 10, are you going to match it? And if they say no, then, you know what, he's free to go onto another platform. But with Dillian Whyte, by the sounds of it, it just means that those in America are going to be watching his fights via ESPN, whether it be that he's fighting here in the UK at the O2 or whether he's fighting abroad in America. It's going to be shown on ESPN. Now, I understand Eddie Hearn's frustration with this one. Of course we do, because he wants all his fighters on DAZN. But ultimately, if you're a fighter and you don't feel valued, why would you sign with a network who don't particularly value you? Or at least up to now, haven't shown it. If they were and ahhing and didn't really want to show his fight with Derek Chisora, then that's their own business, isn't it? You know, that's their own fault. But if Showtime or if ESPN are more than willing to do so, why wouldn't you do that? It's a business. And surely people understand that. You guys would do exactly the same. I certainly would too. You know, loyalty doesn't put food in the cupboards. Okay? Now, Eddie Hearn did say that he does feel that Dillian Whyte will stay on Sky Sports. That was always my inkling too. And that's pretty much why I've always said that for me, if Dillian Whyte is planning on staying with Sky Sports, even though he has no contract with Sky Sports, maybe get a contract with Sky Sports, you know, get that free signing on money, you know. But you see, there's so many things that I wish I could say, but I don't know what it is I can say in case like a Dillian Whyte, or in case maybe I kind of misunderstood something and he kind of like jumps on the phone and has a go at me. Okay, but you have to remember that with Dillian, if you bite him once, then that's it. Okay, you're going to have to do something pretty drastic to make up for it. Otherwise, he'll just cut you off. Okay, and I think that's pretty much what's happened with DAZN. He gave them the first option on his fights, and they were and ahhing about it and didn't really want to pay up the money after they already agreed certain things. So because they'd done that, if he's feeling undervalued, in some ways, even if DAZN offered him more money, he's probably going to go just on principle. You know what? Screw you. You had your chance. You know, you want to promote all like these other fighters, but when it comes to me, you're turning your eyes up or turning your nose up. And now suddenly, what you want to sign me for what? No, I ain't doing that. So maybe that's why he's going to go with ESPN, and Eddie Hearn has to understand that. But of course, he talks about how if he does sign with ESPN, it's going to be more difficult to make fights for him against Joshua. Now, for me, I think that that Joshua negotiation thing is now done and dusted. As I always said, as a lot of you guys have been saying for a long time as well, Dillian's just done exactly what it is that we wanted him to do anyway. So those who are moaning, just think about, did you really want that fight anyway? As I said, as you guys have been saying, what we always wanted, and I said this to Dillian in front of you guys as well, that get the Wilder fight, get the WBC belt, get that belt, and then go fight Joshua for undisputed. So then a big fight becomes a mega fight. Because him versus Joshua is always going to be a big fight anyway, and he's going to create a lot of interest. Because Dillian will sell the hell out of that. He will trash Joshua to hell and back. He really will. And I know a lot of people don't like, oh, don't insult Joshua. But listen, it's part and parcel of it. Eddie Hearn wants him to do that. Joshua wants him to do that too, because it sells the fight. And we as fans want that too. We like build-up. So Eddie Hearn saying that it'll be more difficult, as I said, it ain't going to be more difficult because I don't think Joshua's going to offer him a voluntary defence from now on. And Dillian's going to concentrate on WBC. So if he gets that WBC belt, then these guys will negotiate and they'll see where the better deal is. As Joshua is not tied to DAZN, he can go to ESPN. But if DAZN offered to pay more money for that undisputed fight to show it in America, then I'm pretty sure Dillian Whyte and Bob Arum will go, yeah, right, no problem, of course. You know, that makes sense. If Dillian becomes a mandatory for Joshua, they could take it to purse bid. So again, you see Eddie Hearn, where he says, well, you know, we're not against Joshua versus Wilder being shown on Showtime. You know, it doesn't have to be DAZN. I don't quite understand why he's having like a little bit of a needle with it in this article, which I remind you is in the description box. He's saying, but it's going to be a bit more difficult. Well, if you're willing to go fight on Showtime, surely you're willing to go fight on ESPN. As Eddie Hearn has always said, him and Bob Arum have a great relationship. They're always willing to work with each other, so it shouldn't really be an issue. But I suppose from a UK perspective, do we really care if Dillian Whyte fights or Joshua fights or any fights, Tyson Fury fights are going to be shown on DAZN, Showtime or ESPN? Do we really care? No. The only thing that we care about is, are we watching them here in the UK on Sky Sports, BT Sport? For me, Sky Sports, okay, because I have Sky Sports. I don't have BT Sport. Okay, so if Dillian Whyte does go over to BT Sport, well, to be honest, I mean, I'm kind of and ahhing on a personal thing about whether or not to keep Sky Sports anyway, because I'm feeling a little bit dejected with them. With boxing, everything seems to be about what's going on in America, all the cards coming up in America, and as you guys know, I'm not too happy with the standard of fights or standard of cards, or even lack of cards that we're getting here in the UK, and a lot of it is down to the fact that we can't go to these events because there aren't many, and the ones we are getting are like a next gen level, okay, which I like a next gen level, but I want some of the big fights here in the UK to continue. That's just my thing anyway. But ultimately, I mean, it's still early. Who knows? Maybe they're going through a bit of a blip at the minute. I don't know. But anyway, that's what Eddie Hearn is saying. This is what I've been saying. I think Dillian Whyte will stay on Sky Sports. And Eddie Hearn's probably going to be a bit upset about him joining up with ESPN. Well, Eddie, you should have offered him a better deal. You know, you and DAZN should have come together and offered him a deal that Dillian Whyte can't turn down, or made him feel more welcome on DAZN, as anybody would. If your employer or somebody associated with you kind of gives you an impression that they're not really too fussed by you, but they're more interested in other fighters, then you're probably going to go, yeah, you know what, jog on then. Bite me once, then you know what, shame on you. I'll go elsewhere where I am going to be appreciated. Anyway, ultimately we're still waiting to find out exactly what's going to happen. As soon as it does, you guys will be the first to know. Anyway, drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up and subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.